definition that we'll get to, but that works. All right, what does artificial mean? What's a synonym for artificial? If you are using artificial sweetener in your drinks, or if you are being artificial, what does that mean? Not original, good. Fake, man-made, substitution, okay, good. What does it mean to select something? If you are selecting your classes for next year, what are you doing? To choose, good, Karen. Thank you, Caesar, Giovanni, Karen. All right, and who looked up their previous notes? Why is variation important? The answer is from your notes. This is a question on your Check for Understanding quiz last week. And I could tell if some of you Googled it. So to ensure a species lives on in case of what? What might happen? You finish that thought, Giovanni. Anybody else have their notes from last week? Give a more detailed answer. Because a lot of you, for your Check for Understanding quiz, you went and Googled the answer and talked about allele frequencies. We haven't talked about allele frequencies. No. That's, Tanya, that's what variation is, but why is it important? There you go, Giovanni. If an environment changes, at least some members will survive. So in case the environment suddenly changes, yes. It ensures survival in case the environment suddenly changes. Flood, fire, hurricane, volcano, virus. Any one of those disasters could happen. But as long as there's variation within a population of organisms, some of them will survive. And that is the answer. Like I said, if I could tell that you Googled the answer and you talked about allele frequencies, you did not get points. The only way you got points for that question last week is if you gave me the answer from your notes or some version of that. All right, so essential question, how do organisms change over time in response to changes in the environment? Our key concept, Darwin proposed natural selection as a mechanism of evolution. There's a bunch of pictures there of predator and prey. But what made that prey special? Why did that prey get caught? And what made that predator successful? Those are questions we are going to talk about. Yep, Giovanni, it wasn't fit and escaping. But like I said, fitness in nature, what does that mean? We're going to talk about it. It wasn't fit to escape. So to select something means to choose it. Artificial selection is the process by which humans choose traits through breeding. Like I said, artificial means not original, man-made, fake. The opposite of natural. Humans breed animals. Dogs and horses come to mind. Horses we breed for speed, for horse racing. It's the opposite of natural selection, when nature chooses which organisms survive because they have the most beneficial traits. Their traits help them with survival and reproduction. Darwin's ideas. He had experience with breeding pigeons. We don't really breed pigeons anymore, but that was his experience in old-timey England. He knew that people chose which traits to select for or against. People would select for pretty feathers because, of course, if you want a bird as a pet, you want it to be pretty. But they would select against diseases. Nobody wants a diseased pet. And he used this information, this knowledge, to develop his idea of natural selection. People still select against diseases. If you're going to breed a horse or a dog or whatever else, you don't want it to have diseases. So you're not going to choose diseased horses to breed and move on and pass on their traits. So natural selection is also known as survival of the fittest. Fitness, or to be fit in nature, is the ability of an organism to survive and produce more offspring relative to other members of its species. And nature chooses the organisms that are the best fit and best adapted for survival. They have the most beneficial adaptations to hide or run away or capture prey. It's hard for us to take ourselves out of the equation and imagine a place where humans don't interfere. But when we talk about natural selection and fitness, we're talking about way out in nature where humans don't have anything to do with it. There's 4 principles of natural selection. The first 2 we already talked about last week. That's what your quizzes were on all week last week. We should know those. Variation is the difference in physical traits. Adaptation is a physical feature to help with survival. Overproduction. Having many offspring raises the chance that some will survive. The picture on the bottom is baby turtles. Turtles go to beaches all around the world, specific beaches, and lay hundreds of eggs in the hope that some of their babies will make it to the ocean and survive and pass on their traits. Humans also have the potential for overproduction. Women have hundreds of eggs when they're born. Men produce millions of sperm cells. Obviously, they don't all result in babies, but we have the potential for overproduction. And then descent with modification. As generations progress, there will be more individuals with desirable traits that will help them survive and reproduce. So as far as the baby turtles go, like I said, they have to make it from the beach to the ocean, and there's a lot of birds that prey on them in the middle. So the fastest ones get into the ocean and survive. So over generations, it's the fast ones that are going to pass on that fast trait, however they did it. And the later generations are just going to get faster and faster. That is descent with modification. All right, now in the chat box, we're going to talk about a couple things. So why do giraffes have long necks? We talked about giraffe last week, and their long neck is their main adaptation, but how does that help it in the wild? Good, Omar, to get food in trees. To eat the food on top of the trees. Yep, that is where their food is found. Good, Maria. To get food from tall trees. So what happens if two giraffes have a baby, but the baby is mutated somehow and they have a short neck? What happens to that short-necked giraffe when there are only tall trees to feed it? Do its parents let it live in the basement till it's 30 and get its food for it? No, it dies. Its chance for survival is low and it dies. Out in nature, animals don't coddle their mutated offspring, they let them die. Which, of course, seems mean, but that's nature. That's what happens. So nature said to that giraffe, if you can't get your own food, then you don't deserve to live and pass on your genes. Nature selected against that giraffe, and it died.